We have a urban prairie in downtown Champaign. It is a simulation of a prairie with a prairie forest ecosystem. It has trees, shrubs, herbs and vines, and in the distance it has a prairie. We use it to introduce people to prairie, which often we have to go 20 miles to see. Some of the herbs come in early spring when there's an open canopy, but some of the herbs like wild ginger will tolerate low light and grow during the time when the canopy is over. The rock is a boulder that represents glaciation and a moraine, an accumulation of glacial material. And in front of that moraine there will be an outwashed plain with dampness. The plants that grow in the dampness are like wet feet, so we provide a buried bath with blocked drainage that provides this iron weed with a place to dwell. The prairie it's June and it's high biomass and about 6 feet tall already, and it's very biodiverse as well as being a heavy mass of litter material, natural material. One of the plants that grows profusely in this prairie is a spiderwort or Trotoscandia, which blooms early in the day, and this photograph was taken about noon, so it's stopped blooming, but it's there and it's a rather interesting plant. Its staminal hairs under a microscope show protoplasmic streaming. We're in an urban situation, so looking through a prairie plant, a highway, which is University Avenue, and behind it is a mass transit building. So this is a plot that is in a very urban location. It's also an interesting retreat for people who like to visit. Looking from the other direction, we see a lead plant, which is a rather tall lead plant. It's got a bluish color because its flowers are blue and its anthers are orange. And there's a tree in the background. The tree is a little large. If it gets too big, it will start to lift buildings up, so we may have to eliminate that tree. Panning down, you get to see the grasses. There's 6 major grasses, and the ones you're seeing here are big blue stem and Indian grass, and they'll come into action in more in the September time period. So we're panning around. You see a pipe shop in the background, and this is Spurge. It belongs to the poinsettia family, and it's just about ready to flower. It's tiny little flowers, but if you have 1,000 of them at once, then you really are impressed. Once again, we're in besides buildings, and this is a lead plant, which we're rather proud of because it's rather larger than most lead plants. It has an ashen color about it, just like oxidized lead. So that's what we're showing you here. These leaves show that ashen color. Now we're looking at beard's tongue. It's a penstemon. It flowers with a nice white flower, and it's in seed in this time in June. Now we're looking at a compass plant. Its faces north and south, so the sun doesn't beat the water out of the leaves, and it's invaginated, so it's dropped off a lot of its breathing pores. It's hairy and it's resinous, and it has a deep taproot that may be 10 or 15 feet deep. So it was very useful for settlers to be able to find this plant, because human nature is to go 100 miles and not find that. They'll be right at home. Here we have grapevines, and on the right is a rosin weed, which is very near to getting to be flowering. The grapevine can be on the ground and people would stumble over it. It also can climb trees, and we have, this one's an old grapevine, and the stems are sometimes 2 inches thick. Now you're looking at the prairie from another angle. This is where there used to be two 30-feet billboards that were classed out by
good morning to you, Mr.
coding.
Be careful standing out in the street.
You're on the sound.
So the small billboard on the right is what replaced the bigger billboards, and the generous of the billboard company to give us that sort of space. This is rosin reed and flower, and you see it in amongst a whole bunch of other prairie plants. That gives you an idea of the bio-richness of the site. On the right, this is a piece of rosin weed. This is a bee balm, or balm for bees. It's very popular with bumblebees. Collect its pollen and nectar, and it has other names. The scientific name is Monada fistulosa. It is a popular plant on prairie reconstruction. Here you're seeing the same site with tall coreopsis, not in bloom yet, but it's getting tall. We have to watch that we don't get the in the way of the visual corridor of the billboard. Culver's root. It usually grows in a fairly moist place, and it's suffering for a little bit from dryness. it perked up later and all those fruiting bodies were erect. The fence has its own character, a few knots here and there, but it adds to the ambiance. This is a slightly different angle with little blue stem in the front, and you're panning up to the sign, but you're panning up to a facsimile of a prairie. Some of the tall plants in the background are cup plants. Little blue stem again, and we'll pan up to a prairie dock which has a big elephant ear type leaves. It's a sister of the compass plant, and sometimes they hybridize. The little blue stem is a diplomat. It grows about 2 feet high, and you can use it as a border, as we have done in this case. Now you're looking at the dock, and we're going to follow its fruiting body up to the sky. There it is. It's almost level with the word perfect. A little invasion of the visual corridor of the sign, but we hope to not have the area mown. We like the idea of the plant fruiting bodies expressing themselves. So we appreciate the billboards allowing us to do this.